He vanished without a trace. No warning. Just gone. But when she found out why, it shattered everything. What heart-stopping secret was he hiding? The Montclair mansion had never felt so empty. Abigail stood in the foyer, her pulse racing as she dialed her husband's number for the 7th time. The sun was setting, casting long shadows through the stained glass windows, but there was still no sign of him. Gabriel Montclair, CEO of Montclair Holdings, charismatic, successful, adored by the public, had left that morning with his usual warm kiss and the promise of a dinner date that night. But now it was dark, and Gabriel wasn't answering his phone. Abigail's mind raced with worst-case scenarios. An accident? An emergency at the office? She texted his assistant, Megan, but the reply only deepened her worry. "He hasn't been here all day, Mrs. Montclair. I thought he was working from home." Abigail felt a chill crawl up her spine. That couldn't be right. Gabriel always kept her in the loop about his schedule. Always. She grabbed her coat and keys, heading to his office downtown. The city lights blurred past as she sped through traffic, her thoughts a whirlwind of fear and confusion. When she arrived, the building was nearly deserted. The security guard gave her a puzzled look. "Mrs. Montclair? I didn't see Mr. Montclair come in today. He usually waves on his way up." Her hand shook as she forced a smile. "Right. Maybe I just missed him. Thank you." She hurried back to the car, gripping the steering wheel so tightly her knuckles turned white. This isn't normal. This isn't him. Abigail tried calling Gabriel's closest friend and business partner, Caleb, but his phone went straight to voicemail. Panic surged in her chest. What if something terrible had happened? Just then, her phone buzzed. A message from Gabriel's number. Relief flooded through her, but it was short-lived. "Don't look for me. I need time. Trust me. I love you." She stared at the screen, heart pounding. What does that mean? She called back instantly, but the line was disconnected. The dread returned, heavier than before. Gabriel would never leave like this. Not without an explanation, not without talking to her face to face. She drove back home in a daze, her mind replaying the text over and over. When she reached the mansion, the emptiness felt suffocating. She wandered through the rooms, searching for any sign of him. His clothes were still in the closet. His laptop was in the study. Nothing was missing. In their bedroom, Abigail noticed something odd. Gabriel's watch, the one he never left the house without, was lying on the nightstand. Beside it, a crumpled note. She picked it up, her hands trembling. "I'm sorry, Abby. Please forgive me." Tears filled her eyes as she sank onto the bed, clutching the note. The fear of losing him was slowly morphing into something else, doubt. Why would Gabriel just leave? Why the sudden message? And why that cryptic note? Her phone buzzed again, this time with a call. She fumbled to answer, desperate for answers. "Hello, Mrs. Montclair? This is Detective Harris with the NYPD. We received a report that your husband, Gabriel Montclair, has gone missing. I'd like to ask you a few questions." Abigail froze, her mind spinning. How did you know he was missing?" "I just got a message from him." The detective's voice was calm but firm. "That message was traced to a burner phone, Mrs. Montclair. We believe it may not have come from your husband at all." Her heart sank. "What are you saying? Has anyone contacted you, made any threats, or asked for money? We believe Mr. Montclair may be the victim of foul play. Please stay at your residence. We'll be there shortly." Abigail's world seemed to crumble around her. Foul play? Kidnapping? The thought was unbearable. She dropped the phone, burying her face in her hands as the reality settled in. Someone took Gabriel. But why? And who would want to hurt him? Her eyes landed on the crumpled note again, and suddenly a thought crept in, a whisper of doubt. What if Gabriel wasn't taken? What if he left on his own? But why leave a note, then send a message from a burner phone? Nothing made sense. Abigail's heart pounded as she looked around the room, desperate for any clue. She refused to believe her husband would just abandon her. As the sound of approaching sirens broke the stillness, Abigail made a silent vow. "No matter what it takes, I will find out the truth. And I will bring him back." The flashing red and blue lights outside the Montclair mansion painted the night in chaotic colors. Abigail sat on the plush living room couch, hands trembling as Detective Harris took notes. His presence was calm, almost detached, the kind of composure that came from years of dealing with unpredictable situations. "Mrs. Montclair, I need you to think carefully. Has your husband been acting differently lately? Any arguments or unusual behavior?" Harris asked, his pen poised. Abigail shook her head, struggling to focus. "No, no arguments. He was his usual self. We had breakfast together yesterday. He left for work like he always does. There was nothing strange." Harris scribbled something in his notepad. "Did your husband have any enemies? Anyone who might want to harm him?" A wave of guilt washed over her. She didn't know. Gabriel always seemed so confident, so untouchable. But business could be brutal, and she wasn't privy to every detail of his work. "I don't know," she whispered. "He kept his work life separate from home. Sometimes I didn't even know what he was dealing with." Harris nodded. "What about family or close friends? Anyone who might know more?" Abigail's thoughts flickered to Caleb, Gabriel's business partner. They've been friends since college. If anyone knew Gabriel's secrets, it would be him. Caleb Foster. They've worked together for years. Maybe he knows something. The detective made a note. "We'll reach out to him. In the meantime, I'd like to search your husband's office here at the house. Maybe there's something that can give us a lead." Abigail hesitated. Gabriel's office was his sanctuary, filled with documents, awards, and personal mementos. He was protective of it. What if it could help find him? "Of course. Follow me." They moved down the hallway, the echoes of their footsteps unervingly loud. Abigail pushed open the heavy oak door, revealing the office just as Gabriel had left it, impeccably neat, with framed achievements lining the walls. Harris scanned the room, his gaze landing on the desk. He moved toward it, carefully checking the drawers. Abigail couldn't help but feel a pang of guilt, as if betraying Gabriel's trust by letting a stranger rifle through his private space. "Did your husband ever mention feeling threatened? Any messages, calls, or unusual visitors?" Harris asked, sifting through documents. Abigail thought back, trying to recall anything odd. "There was a man last week. Gabriel seemed tense after their meeting. I didn't catch his name, but he had this rough look, like he didn't belong here." Harris raised an eyebrow. "Did Gabriel say what it was about?" "No, he just brushed it off. Said it was a business matter. I didn't press him." Suddenly, Harris pulled out a small, leather-bound notebook from the bottom drawer. He flipped through it, his brow furrowing. "It's a ledger. Business transactions, but some of these are odd. Payments to a company called Blackridge Consulting." "Do you know what that is?" Abigail shook her head. "No, I've never heard of it." Harris jotted it down, then his phone buzzed. He stepped out to take the call, leaving Abigail alone. She glanced around the room, her eyes landing on a small frame on the desk, a photo of her and Gabriel on their honeymoon, smiling and carefree. Her chest tightened. The fear that something terrible had happened to him felt suffocating. But another thought crept in, one she couldn't suppress. What if he really did leave? What if this wasn't an accident or a crime? Harris returned, his expression more guarded. "We just spoke to Mr. Foster. He said he hasn't seen or heard from Gabriel since yesterday morning. He assumed Gabriel was working from home. No one at the office has heard anything either." Abigail bit her lip. Gabriel wouldn't just abandon everything. He's dedicated to his work. "To me." Harris nodded slowly, then glanced at the laptop on the desk. "Do you know the password?" Abigail did. Gabriel trusted her with his personal files, though she rarely needed to access them. She typed it in, and the desktop opened, revealing his recent documents. Harris leaned closer as Abigail clicked through the files. One folder caught her eye, for Abigail. She hesitated. Gabriel never mentioned making a folder just for her. She clicked it open. Inside were photos, some of them recent, some from years ago. Their first date, their anniversary trip to Italy, candid shots from quiet mornings at home. But at the bottom was a video file labeled, "If Anything Happens." Abigail's heart pounded. She clicked play. Gabriel appeared on the screen, his face weary, eyes shadowed with worry. "If you're watching this, Abby, something went wrong. I don't have time to explain everything, but I made some mistakes. I thought I could fix it before it got out of hand. Please don't hate me. I did it to protect you." Tears blurred her vision as Gabriel looked away, rubbing his forehead. I can't let them hurt you. If I disappear, it's because I couldn't keep you safe any other way. Please, don't look for me. I love you. Always. The screen went black. Abigail covered her mouth, trying to stifle a sob. Harris's expression turned grim. Mrs. Montclair, did your husband ever mention being threatened or blackmailed? Abigail shook her head, feeling numb. No, never. He would have told me. Harris glanced back at the ledger. We need to find out what Blackridge Consulting really is. If Gabriel got involved with something dangerous, it might explain why he's hiding. Abigail wiped her tears, determination hardening her voice. If he's in trouble, I'm not just going to sit here and wait. I'm going to find him. The following morning, the Montclair mansion felt colder, as if the worry and confusion had seeped into the walls. Abigail hadn't slept. She replayed Gabriel's video over and over, each time convincing herself there must be more to the story, more he wasn't telling her. Detective Harris returned to the mansion, this time with a laptop and a determined look. Mrs. Montclair, we traced the IP address from the video upload. It was sent from a public Wi-Fi network at a small coffee shop downtown. Abigail's eyes widened. So he's still in the city? Harris nodded cautiously. Possibly. Where someone close to him is. We're getting security footage from the shop to see if Gabriel was there. Abigail felt a flicker of hope. If he's nearby, we have to find him. Maybe he's trying to protect me from something. Harris gave her a measured look. We need to be prepared for all possibilities, including the idea that Gabriel might have willingly left to avoid something serious. Abigail didn't want to believe it, but the nagging thought wouldn't go away. What if Gabriel had been involved in something illegal? What if he was running from more than just danger? Suddenly, Caleb showed up at the mansion, looking disheveled and out of breath. Abby, I just heard. What's going on? Gabriel's missing. Abigail nodded, trying to compose herself. Yes, the police think he might be in trouble. Caleb looked at Harris. Did you check his company records? Gabriel mentioned some issues with a client a few weeks back. A project that didn't go as planned. He was stressed, but he wouldn't tell me more. Harris raised an eyebrow. What client? Caleb hesitated. I don't know the name, but he kept saying he needed to resolve it quietly. I didn't push him. I figure it was just another business deal gone south. Abigail's heart pounded. What if that's related to Blackridge Consulting? Harris jotted down the information. I'll look into it. In the meantime, if you remember anything else, call me. After the detective left, Caleb placed a reassuring hand on Abigail's shoulder. Don't worry. We'll find him. Gabriel's strong. He'll get through this. Abigail nodded, grateful for Caleb's support. But deep down, doubt gnawed at her. Gabriel had always been open with her about his work. Why would he suddenly start hiding things? Harris called Abigail later that afternoon. They found something on the footage. You might want to see this. Abigail met him at the precinct, where Harris pulled up grainy video footage from the coffee shop. Gabriel was there, looking tense, glancing over his shoulder. But what caught her attention was the man who approached him, rough-looking, with a scar down his cheek. They exchanged a few words before Gabriel handed him an envelope. Harris paused the video. Recognized the man? Abigail shook her head. No, Gabriel never mentioned anyone like him. Harris leaned forward. We ran a match. The man's name is Leo Finch, ex-con, known for extortion and intimidation. No known link to Montclair Holdings, but definitely not someone Gabriel would associate with. Unless he was being threatened, Abigail whispered. Harris nodded. We're digging into Leo's recent activities. If Gabriel was paying him off, it could mean he was being blackmailed. Abigail clenched her fists. But why? Gabriel doesn't do anything illegal. He's careful. He wouldn't get mixed up with people like that. Harris eyed her carefully. Sometimes good people make bad choices when they're desperate. We need to find out what Leo wanted, and why Gabriel felt he couldn't come to you for help. Back at the mansion, Abigail went through Gabriel's personal documents, trying to find any clue. She opened a drawer in his study that she'd never seen before, hidden behind a row of books. Inside, she found a passport, but it wasn't Gabriel's. It belonged to a man named James Holloway, with Gabriel's face on it. Her hands trembled as she flipped through it. The passport had stamps from countries Gabriel had never mentioned visiting. A second phone lay beneath it, powered off. Just then, Caleb walked in, startling her. "Abby, what are you doing?" She held up the passport, her voice barely above a whisper. "Who is James Holloway?" Caleb's eyes widened. What? Where did you find that?" "In Gabriel's desk." "Caleb, why would he have a fake identity?" Caleb's face went pale. "I don't know. I never knew anything about this." Abigail powered on the second phone, and to her shock, there were dozens of missed calls and messages, all from an unknown number. One message read, "You can't run forever. You know the deal. Pay up or your wife finds out everything." She looked at Caleb, fear creeping into her eyes. Was Gabriel running from something or someone? Was he hiding from me? Caleb put a hand on her shoulder. "Maybe he was protecting you. Maybe he thought whatever he got caught up in would put you in danger." Tears threatened to spill as Abigail whispered, "Why didn't he tell me? Why would he hide this?" Caleb sighed, guilt flickering in his eyes. "Maybe because he knew you'd never forgive him. Sometimes love makes people do desperate things." Abigail wiped her tears, determination hardening her features. "I'm not giving up. I'm going to find him, no matter what it takes." That night, Abigail barely slept. Her mind kept circling back to the fake passport, the secret phone, and the unsettling text message. Was Gabriel living a double life? And why would he keep it from her? The next morning, Abigail was startled by a knock on the door. It was Detective Harris, looking more serious than usual. "Mrs. Montclair, we've made progress on the investigation. May I come in?" She nodded, leading him into the study. Harris set a file on the desk. "We looked into Blackridge Consulting. It's a shell company. No real business, just a name used to launder money. It's connected to a series of offshore accounts registered to a James Holloway." Abigail felt the room spin. "That's the name on Gabriel's fake passport." Harris sighed. "It looks like Gabriel, or James, rather, was funneling money through this company. But we don't know why." Abigail's stomach twisted. Was Gabriel involved in something criminal? But Gabriel would never. He's always been honest. Why would he use a fake identity? Harris gave her a long, careful look. "We traced some transactions from those accounts. They're linked to payouts to a group of known enforcers, including Leo Finch, the man seen with Gabriel at the coffee shop." Abigail's hands began to shake. "So, you're saying Gabriel was paying criminals? Why? Was he being blackmailed?" "We're not sure. It's possible he was trying to buy protection or cover something up. But there's more." He opened the file, revealing a photo. Abigail's heart stopped. It was Gabriel, or rather, James, standing beside a woman and a young boy outside a small suburban house. They looked like a family. Abigail's voice was barely a whisper. "Who is she?" Harris's expression softened. "That's Julia Clark and her son, Ethan. They live in a modest neighborhood outside the city. Julia claims to be James Holloway's wife." Abigail's world shattered. "No, that can't be. He would never." Harris spoke gently. "We haven't approached her yet. I wanted to give you a chance to process this first. But we'll have to question her soon. If Gabriel has a second family, it changes everything." Abigail couldn't hold back her tears. "You wouldn't lie to me. Not like this. There has to be an explanation." Harris nodded. "I believe you. Sometimes things aren't what they seem. But we have to follow every lead." Unable to wait any longer, Abigail drove to the address Harris had shown her. As she pulled up, she saw Julia standing on the porch, talking to the little boy. Abigail's heart ached at the sight. Julia looked up, surprise flickering across her face as Abigail approached. "Can I help you?" Julia asked cautiously. Abigail swallowed her fear. "My name is Abigail Montclair. I need to talk to you about James." Julia's eyes widened. "You know James? Is he okay? He hasn't been home for days." Abigail's breath hitched. "What do you mean? He's missing." Julia nodded, looking worried. "Yes. He left last week, saying he had to take care of something important. He told me not to worry, but I haven't heard from him since." Abigail steadied herself. "How long have you known him?" Julia's expression softened. "Almost 5 years. We met when he moved here for work. He's a good man. He always takes care of us." Abigail's mind spun. Did he ever mention Abigail or Montclair Holdings? Julia frowned. "No. He said his job was stressful, but he never talked much about it." "Why? Who are you really?" Abigail took a deep breath. I'm his wife. Gabriel Montclair's wife. Julia's face went pale. Wife? No, that's impossible. James would never. The little boy tugged at Julia's sleeve. Mommy, where's Daddy? Is he coming home soon? Julia pulled him close, her face crumpling. I don't know, sweetie. Abigail couldn't take it anymore. I don't understand. Why would he live this double life? What reason could he possibly have? Julia looked at her, tears welling up. You're telling me that my husband has another wife? Another life? Abigail nodded slowly, guilt and confusion mixing in her heart. Yes, and I didn't know about you. Or your son. Julia wiped her tears. I don't know what to believe anymore. He promised us everything. He promised he'd never leave. Just then, Abigail's phone buzzed. It was Caleb. Abby, you need to come back to the mansion. Now, there's something you need to see. Abigail glanced at Julia one last time. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. Julia just nodded, too stunned to respond. As Abigail drove away, her mind raced with 1,000 questions. Was Gabriel really living a lie? Or was this all part of something much bigger? When Abigail returned, Caleb was pacing the hallway. I found something in Gabriel's office, he said, his face tense. You need to see this. He led her to the study and opened the laptop. On the screen was an encrypted folder titled Contingency Plan. Caleb clicked on it, revealing a series of documents, detailed notes about Blackridge Consulting, payment trails, and lists of names, including Julia Clark. Abigail's pulse quickened. What is all this? Caleb's voice was low. Looks like Gabriel was investigating Blackridge himself. And Julia, it says here she was involved in some kind of scheme. Gabriel must have found out and was gathering evidence. Abigail couldn't believe it. You're saying Julia might be involved in whatever's going on? Caleb nodded grimly. If that's true, then Gabriel didn't disappear to escape. He vanished to protect you from something far worse. Abigail's heart pounded as she stared at the screen. The encrypted folder was a labyrinth of files, some labeled with cryptic names, Project Holloway, Payment Trail, and Contingency Contact List. Caleb scrolled through the documents, his brow furrowing. He clicked on a file titled Connection Map. A complex web of names appeared on the screen, linking Gabriel, Blackridge Consulting, Julia Clark, and other unknown figures. This is insane, Caleb muttered. Abigail leaned closer, eyes widening. Why would Gabriel have a map of connections between himself and all these people? Is this evidence, or something he's caught up in? Caleb shook his head. It looks more like an investigation, like Gabriel was trying to piece together a puzzle on his own. Abigail pointed at the screen. Look at that name, Leo Finch. That's the man from the coffee shop video. Caleb clicked on Leo's name, which led to a document labeled Surveillance Report. It contained photos of Leo meeting with Julia, the dates matching the times Gabriel was supposedly on business trips. Abigail's stomach twisted. Julia was meeting with him? Why would Gabriel track her? Caleb hesitated. It looks like Gabriel suspected her of something. Maybe Julia wasn't just part of his hidden life. Maybe she was part of the danger. Suddenly, Abigail's phone rang. It was Detective Harris. Mrs. Montclair, I have some news. We traced the funds from the offshore accounts. They weren't just payments. They were bribes to keep someone quiet. Abigail felt a chill. Quiet about what? Harris's voice was cautious. We're not entirely sure, but it seems linked to a corporate fraud investigation. Gabriel might have uncovered illegal activities at Montclair Holdings and was trying to expose it. Someone powerful didn't want that to happen. Abigail's thoughts raced. Are you saying someone from the company wanted him silenced? Harris hesitated. That's one theory. We also have reason to believe that Julia Clark may not be as innocent as she seems. There's evidence linking her to some of the fraudulent transactions. Abigail's mind reeled. But why would Gabriel hide all this from me? Harris sighed. Maybe he was trying to protect you. Or maybe he didn't know who to trust. I'm sending someone to check on Julia's house, just to be safe. Abigail hung up, her mind spinning. Caleb, if Gabriel was trying to take down someone from inside the company, why didn't he come to us for help? Caleb leaned back, deep in thought. Maybe he didn't know who was involved. If Julia was part of it, she could have been feeding information to someone higher up. Abigail swallowed hard. Gabriel was trying to protect me. But from whom? And why did he keep Julia in his life if he suspected her? Caleb's expression darkened. Maybe he was trying to play both sides. Keep his enemies close. Or maybe Julia was blackmailing him. If she knew about his investigation, she could have used it to manipulate him. Abigail couldn't hold back her frustration. So many secrets. Why didn't he just tell me the truth? Just as they were piecing things together, Caleb's phone chimed. He checked it, his face going pale. "What is it?" Abigail asked. Caleb turned the phone toward her. It was a news article. Business mogul Gabriel Montclair declared missing amid corporate scandal. Abigail gasped. "They're making it public?" Caleb scrolled down. Apparently, Montclair Holdings stock is plummeting. The board issued a statement that Gabriel's disappearance is linked to potential financial misconduct. They're practically throwing him under the bus. Abigail's mind raced. They're using his absence to discredit him. Someone at the top wants him out. Permanently. Caleb gritted his teeth. We need to find out who and why they're framing him. Abigail suddenly remembered something. Gabriel had once mentioned a safe hidden in the study. She moved to the bookshelf, feeling along the spines until she found the lever. The panel clicked open, revealing a small compartment. Inside was a USB drive labeled Final Truth. Abigail glanced at Caleb, her hand shaking. This could be everything. Caleb quickly plugged it into the laptop. The screen displayed a video, Gabriel speaking directly to the camera, his face drawn and serious. "If you're seeing this, it means I couldn't finish what I started. There's a corruption network within Montclair Holdings tied to Blackridge Consulting. Julia Clark is part of it, but she's just a pawn. The real threat is higher up. I've uncovered evidence linking someone on the board to the fraud. I thought I could handle it quietly, but they found out. If anything happens to me, expose this. Protect Abby. Don't trust anyone, especially Charles Davenport." Abigail felt like the ground had shifted beneath her. Charles Davenport? He's on the board. One of Gabriel's oldest mentors. Why would he betray him? Caleb clenched his jaw. Because Davenport has been trying to seize control of Montclair Holdings for years. If Gabriel's discredited or missing, Davenport could leverage his shares and take over. Abigail's fear morphed into resolve. We need to expose this. We can't let them destroy Gabriel's name. Just then, Caleb's phone rang. He put on speaker. It was Detective Harris. We checked Julia's place. She's gone. Cleared out. Neighbors said she left with a man matching Leo Finch's description. Abigail's heart sank. She knew we were onto her. They're running. Harris's voice was firm. We put out an alert. But if Gabriel trusted you with evidence, you need to get somewhere safe. If Davenport's behind this, he won't stop until all loose ends are tied up. Abigail nodded. We'll move. But first, we need to get this evidence to someone we can trust. Caleb looked at her, determination in his eyes. We'll find a way to clear Gabriel's name, no matter what it takes. As they prepared to leave, Abigail couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The truth was out there, tangled in lies and betrayal, and she wouldn't rest until she uncovered every last secret. Caleb's car sped down the winding road, leaving the Montclair mansion behind. Abigail sat in the passenger seat, clutching the USB drive as if it were a lifeline. Her heart raced, fear and determination battling within her. "Do you think Davenport knows we found the files?" she asked, glancing over at Caleb. Caleb's jaw was tight. Davenport's smart. He probably figured Gabriel hid something. If he suspects we have it, we're in danger. We need to get this to someone we can trust, someone outside Montclair Holdings. Abigail thought for a moment. What about Detective Harris? He's the only one who's been straightforward with us. Caleb nodded. Agreed. But we can't just call him. Davenport might have people monitoring our phones. We'll find a safe place and contact him from a secure line. Abigail's phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. She hesitated before opening it. The message read, "You can't run forever. Hand over the drive if you want to stay safe." Her hands trembled. They know. Caleb, they know we have it. Caleb cursed under his breath. Davenport's got eyes everywhere. We have to keep moving. He took a sharp turn onto a back road, away from the main highway. Abigail glanced at the rearview mirror and saw a dark SUV following them. Caleb, I think we're being followed. He checked the mirror and grimaced. Hang on. Caleb floored the gas, weaving through side streets and narrow alleys. The SUV stayed close, its engine roaring. Abigail's heart pounded as the car skidded around a corner, narrowly missing a row of parked cars. Suddenly, they hit a congested intersection. Caleb glanced at Abigail. Get out. Take the drive and hide. I'll lead them away. Abigail hesitated. No, I'm not leaving you. Caleb forced a tight smile. I can handle this. You need to get the evidence to Harris. Go. Reluctantly, Abigail slipped out of the car and ducked into a nearby alley. She watched as Caleb's car sped away, the SUV hot on its trail. Once they were out of sight, she took a deep breath and pulled out her phone. Abigail found a small motel at the edge of the city, paying in cash to avoid leaving a trail. Inside the tiny room, she locked the door and pulled out the USB. Her thoughts were a chaotic mess. Was Caleb safe? Did Davenport know where she was? She needed to call Harris, but her phone was compromised. There was an old payphone outside the motel. Abigail hurried over, glancing around nervously before dialing his number. After a few rings, Harris picked up. This is Harris. Abigail's voice was shaky. It's Abigail. Davenport's after me. He knows we have the evidence. Caleb's trying to lead them away. Harris's tone grew serious. Where are you? She hesitated. I can't say. It's not safe. Can we meet somewhere secure? Go to the old warehouse on Pier 17. I'll meet you there in an hour. Stay hidden. Abigail hung up, her heart still racing. She glanced around the deserted parking lot, half expecting someone to emerge from the shadows. Just as she was about to go back inside, a car pulled up, an old sedan. To her surprise, Caleb stumbled out, looking shaken but unharmed. Caleb, he gave a weary smile. Lost them? Barely. You okay? She nodded. Harris wants to meet at Pier 17. He thinks it's safe. Caleb wiped his forehead, glancing around. Let's go. We can't stay here. They took the sedan, moving cautiously through the city until they reached the waterfront. The warehouse loomed in the dim light, its windows cracked and dusty. Caleb pulled around to the back, parking out of sight. Abigail's phone buzzed again. Another message from the unknown number. You think you're clever, don't you? I always know where you are. You're running out of time. Abigail showed Caleb the message. How do they keep finding us? Caleb frowned. They must have tracked your phone. Leave it here. We can't take chances. She reluctantly tossed the phone onto the passenger seat, fighting the rising panic. What if they hurt Gabriel? What if they already know about the warehouse? Caleb put a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Let's focus on getting to Harris. Once we hand over the drive, he can get us protection. They slipped inside the warehouse, hiding behind stacks of rusted metal crates. The silence was suffocating. Abigail strained to hear any movement, her nerves on edge. A noise echoed through the building, footsteps approaching. Caleb motioned for her to stay down as he peeked around the corner. It's Harris, he whispered. Relief flooded Abigail as Harris stepped into view. She rushed out from her hiding spot. Detective! But before she could reach him, another figure appeared behind Harris, Charles Davenport. Abigail froze. Harris glanced back at Davenport, his expression unreadable. Sorry, Mrs. Montclair. You weren't supposed to dig this deep. Shock rooted her to the spot. You're working with him? Davenport smiled, his eyes cold. You never did know when to stop asking questions, Abby. Gabriel's little investigation got him into trouble, and now you're making the same mistake. Abigail's heart pounded. You lied to me. You pretended to help. Harris shrugged. Money talks. Davenport made sure I looked the other way when Gabriel started digging. Now that you're involved, it's easier to tie up all the loose ends at once. Caleb stepped forward, fists clenched. Don't you dare touch her. Davenport pulled out a gun, leveling it at Caleb. Bold words for a man outnumbered. Just then, tires screeched outside. Another car pulled up, and Gabriel stepped out, bruised but alive. Let her go, Davenport, he shouted, voice firm despite his injuries. Abigail's eyes widened. Gabriel. Davenport's face twisted in rage. You were supposed to be dead. Leo said. Gabriel took a step closer. Leo Leet, just like you lied to everyone. I know about the fraud, Charles. I know you're the one who used Julia to frame me. Harris raised his gun, but Caleb lunged forward, knocking it from his hand. In the chaos, Gabriel tackled Davenport, pinning him to the ground. Abigail rushed to help, adrenaline surging. Finally, sirens blared outside. Real police officers flooded the warehouse, arresting Harris and Davenport. Abigail clung to Gabriel, relief and shock overwhelming her. Gabriel whispered into her hair, "I'm sorry I put you through this. I thought leaving would keep you safe." She pulled back, eyes brimming with tears. "We'll face it together. No more secrets." The police swarmed the warehouse, securing Davenport and Harris in handcuffs. Abigail clung to Gabriel, barely believing he was real. His arms tightened around her, his voice soft but urgent. "I'm so sorry, Abby. I never meant for you to get caught up in this." She pulled back, searching his eyes. "I thought you were gone. I thought I'd lost you." Gabriel brushed a tear from her cheek, his own eyes reflecting guilt and exhaustion. "I had to disappear. Davenport found out I was investigating him. He threatened to hurt you if I didn't back off. I thought if I vanished, you'd be safe." Caleb approached, his relief evident. "Man, you scared the hell out of us. What happened?" Gabriel exhaled slowly. "I found discrepancies in the company's finances. Davenport had been embezzling funds through Blackridge Consulting, using Julia as a front. When I confronted her, she warned Davenport. That's when he had Leo try to scare me off. I knew I couldn't go public without proof, so I started gathering evidence. But then, Leo cornered me. They beat me up and left me for dead. I barely made it out." Abigail's heart ached as she took in his bruises and the pain in his eyes. "So you faked your own disappearance?" Gabriel nodded. "It was the only way to keep you safe while I dug deeper. I planned to finish collecting evidence and turn it all over to the authorities. But when I saw Davenport was using Harris to track you down, I knew I had to come back. I couldn't risk losing you." Caleb crossed his arms, frustration mingling with relief. "You should have told us from the start. We could have helped." Gabriel shook his head. "I didn't know who to trust. Davenport had people everywhere, even at the company." One of the officers approached them. "Mr. Montclair, we'll need you to come to the station to give a statement." "Mrs. Montclair, you too." Gabriel looked at Abigail, his grip on her hand firm. "We'll do this together." At the station, Gabriel gave his statement, detailing how he uncovered the fraudulent activities and Davenport's plan to take over Montclair Holdings. The police confirmed that the evidence on the USB drive was more than enough to indict Davenport and Julia. Detective Harris, now sitting in a cell, glared at Gabriel as he passed by. "You ruined everything," Harris spat. Gabriel paused, his gaze cold. "No, you ruined your own life when you chose money over justice. I trusted you." Harris had no reply, his bravado crumbling. Abigail couldn't help but feel a mixture of relief and sadness. Why would Julia do this? Did she ever care about you? Gabriel looked away. "I think at first she did. But Davenport used her desperation. She wanted a better life for her son. When I found out what she was part of, I tried to help her break free, but she was already too deep." Caleb placed a comforting hand on Gabriel's shoulder. "Davenport's done, and so is his network. You'll clear your name, and we'll rebuild the company." Gabriel nodded, but his eyes were on Abigail. "I just want to rebuild what I almost lost. I'm so sorry, Abby. I thought I could protect you by keeping you in the dark. I was wrong." Abigail reached for his hand, her heart aching. "No more secrets. We'll face everything together from now on." A few days later, the media frenzy had died down. Davenport's arrest made headlines, and Montclair Holdings stocks began to stabilize under Caleb's management. The board publicly cleared Gabriel's name, acknowledging that he had been framed by Davenport. At home, Abigail found Gabriel in the garden, his face softer than she'd seen in weeks. "Penny for your thoughts?" she asked. He smiled, pulling her into his arms. "I thought I'd lost you. I kept pushing you away to protect you, but I almost lost everything that mattered." Abigail traced the lines of his face. "I thought I lost you too, but we made it through. Together." Gabriel kissed her forehead, his voice filled with hope. "We'll rebuild. Our life, the company. I'll make it right." Not just for me, but for us. She leaned into him, finally allowing herself to believe that the nightmare was over. No more running. No more hiding. Just us. 6 months later, the Montclair mansion was alive with warmth and laughter. Sunlight streamed through the tall windows, reflecting off the polished floors. Abigail was in the kitchen, preparing breakfast while humming softly to herself. Gabriel walked in, his steps lighter than they'd been in years. He wrapped his arms around her from behind, pressing a gentle kiss to her shoulder. "You're in a good mood," Abigail teased. He chuckled, resting his chin on her shoulder. "I can't help it. Today's a good day." It was Gabriel's first official day back at Montclair Holdings. After months of investigations, rebuilding, and clearing his name, the board had not only reinstated him, but publicly acknowledged his dedication to saving the company. Davenport was sentenced to 20 years for embezzlement and conspiracy. Julia, after revealing critical information, took a plea deal to protect her son and was serving time in a minimum security facility. Abigail turned to face Gabriel, her eyes soft. "I'm proud of you. You didn't just save the company. You proved that honesty still matters." He brushed a strand of hair from her face. "I couldn't have done it without you. You never gave up on me, even when I gave up on myself." She smiled, placing a hand on his cheek. "We both made mistakes, but we came out stronger." The doorbell rang, interrupting their quiet moment. Caleb walked in, carrying a box of pastries. "Morning. Thought I'd bring something sweet to celebrate your first day back." Gabriel grinned. "Thanks, man. You didn't have to." Caleb raised an eyebrow. "After what we went through, I think we deserve a little sugar." They settled at the dining table, chatting about the upcoming press conference. Gabriel glanced at Abigail, his expression more thoughtful. "I was thinking we should take a vacation after this. Just us. Somewhere quiet." Abigail's eyes lit up. "That sounds perfect. We haven't had time to just breathe." Caleb smirked. "I'll keep the company from burning down while you two are gone. Just promise not to vanish again." Gabriel laughed. "Deal." As they shared breakfast, Abigail couldn't help but feel a sense of peace settling over their lives. The past months had tested their love and their loyalty, but in the end, they had chosen each other. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Gabriel and Abigail sat on the terrace, their fingers entwined. The city lights sparkled in the distance, a reminder of everything they had overcome. Gabriel took a deep breath, his voice soft. "I thought I had to be the hero, the one who protected you from everything. But I learned that real strength comes from facing the truth together." Abigail leaned her head on his shoulder. "We're stronger because we faced it, and because you didn't give up on finding the truth, no matter how hard it got." He kissed her temple, the weight of the past finally lifting. No more secrets, no more running, just us rebuilding. Abigail smiled, feeling a quiet contentment settle in her heart. Just us. The next morning, as Gabriel prepared to head back to the office, Abigail watched him from the doorway, pride swelling in her chest. He looked confident, restored, the man she knew he could be. Before leaving, Gabriel pulled her into his arms, his eyes reflecting a promise. "No matter what happens, you and me will always choose each other." She kissed him softly, her heart full, "And nothing will ever tear us apart again." As he drove away, Abigail watched until his car disappeared down the driveway, knowing that they had faced the storm and come out stronger. Together.